Hey, pastors and leaders, in this video, I'm going to talk about how to pastor a Pursue God church. Now, when I use that term, Pursue God church, I'm just talking about a church that is using the PursueGOD.org resources. These are free resources that are built for friends and families and also for churches. And so if you're not familiar with this website, probably the best thing you can do before you even watch this video is click on how it works and just sort of browse some of those videos on how it works, take a little tour and learn all about family talk and groups and mentoring and small groups and all the different trainings. And so this is a great way to sort of get familiarized with these resources. And once you've done that, you're ready to tackle this particular video and this particular conversation with your leadership team and your elders to talk about, okay, are these tools something that we really want to buy into, and are these tools something that we want to use really to grow our Pursue God church? So really what we like to talk about is the LP, the lead pastor. That might be a senior pastor, that might be a lead pastor of a multi-site church. And a lead pastor has leadership over all these different areas of ministry, and we'll get to what those are in just a moment. But first, let's just frame this. Okay, so here's the goal of the lead pastor. It's to create a mentoring culture. And again, all we mean by that is a culture of discipleship in your church, where it's not a culture of consumers. It's a culture where you've equipped people to get in the game and to make an impact, and everyone knows how to become a mentor, okay? And so our mentor training series is a great way to learn more about what we mean by that, but that's the goal. And so really then the title of the lead pastor, a great way to think of him, is a lead mentor. Because really, after all, if the ultimate goal is to have a discipleship culture, a mentoring culture, it's got to start with someone, and it should start with the lead pastor. The lead pastor needs to buy into it, understand what it's all about, and truly be the lead mentor. And so the tool you're using, of course, is the Pursue God Conversation Library. So each one of these resources is its own conversation. And so when I use these with the guys on my staff or people in my life, I say, hey, here's a conversation we're going to have. I click on it and we just go from there. It's important that everyone's using the same tool to keep everything super simple. And then the task really then of a mentor is to schedule conversations, and don't really complicate it. I mean, if you don't schedule a conversation, the conversation's not going to happen. And so then if you model that sort of haphazard approach to mentoring, then you're going to push that haphazard approach throughout your ministry, and nobody's really going to ever schedule conversations. And really, it's not going to take hold. So the simple sort of key task is really scheduling conversations, whether that's weekly or monthly or on some other schedule. And the method you use is the flex method. And again, if you don't know what that means, you can go to how it works and you can click on the flex method. And it's super simple. The flex method just boils down to the F is finding a topic from the library. The L is where everyone learns about it on their own before you show up to talk about it. And that's really an important part of the method. And then the EX is when you come together and explore it. And there's some more to the method. But it's super simple. A great way to learn more about the method is just go to the Connect menu and watch a Hangout, and you can actually listen in on some of these conversations where you can watch how we have some of these conversations in about half an hour, 40 minutes, and you can see the method at work. But that might sound a little bit specific, but it's important for clarity's sake to make sure that everyone's using the same tool, that every mentor understands what their true task is, and that you're all using the same methodology, because then you can move on to the next question, which is, okay, who should I be mentoring? And so lead pastors, you should view it like this. You are mentoring your team leaders. Your circle is your team leaders. So a great way to think about that is if you go to the ministry tools menu item and go down to teams and training, you'll see that you've got the pastoral team and the teaching team and the kids church and youth and small group and worship team. And there's probably another one we'll put on there called the operations team, your finances, your coffee team and all that kind of stuff. And really, you're the lead mentor of all of those team leaders. So we're finally really ready to answer the question of whose names go into these circles. And it's your team leaders. Now, that doesn't mean, pastors, that you don't mentor your kids at home. Of course, that is sort of a given. But when it comes to your church, the first people you need to mentor and make sure that you're using these tools and this methodology with are your team leaders. So you get your worship team leader, You get your youth team leaders, you get your small group, so maybe some initial small group leaders, and those are the people that you begin scheduling regular conversations with. And again, conversations right from the library. A great place to find those conversations is just on those training team pages. So let's say that you're going to have some kids' church conversations with your kids' church team leader. So start with some of these training conversations. Make sure you have some of these initial training conversations with your kids' church leaders so that they understand what their job is, what their task is. There's great clarity from the very beginning, and everyone's moving forward. And everybody's on the same page with what the goals are and the principles and all those sorts of things. Now, again, that doesn't mean that you have to be an expert in all of those areas, but you certainly need to be familiar enough with all of those main team training modules that we have in our PursueGOD.org library, because those are your first people that you're going to try to reach. And your goal, don't forget, your goal is to empower conversations. Okay, so your goal isn't to have every conversation with every person who ever joins a team. If you're using the tools correctly and simply enough, you're having those very clear, scheduled conversations. You're having those with your team leaders, and you're expecting them and you're empowering them to then take the ball and have the conversations with the people that they need to have the conversations with. And that's how you build out your org chart and your tree. So really what's happening is you're pushing it out to the next generation. And the goal isn't that you're having every single conversation in the church. The goal is that you're creating a mentoring culture because you're a lead mentor. You're teaching them how to use the tool. You're teaching them how to schedule conversations. You're modeling it for them. You're teaching them the simple methodology. Make sure you understand that you're not just shoving knowledge down their throat. The flex method helps them to discover it on their own. And then when you come together to talk about it, they do more of the talking than you do. And then the goal is that they're going to do the same thing now as you empower conversations down the line. And over time, you've accomplished your goal. You've created that mentoring culture where everyone knows how to use the tools. And again, not just when it comes to some of these ministry conversations, but really everyone knows how to use any of the tools so that they can talk about any topic with people at work, with their family, with people that in their neighborhood that they're reaching out to. So the goal is that you're not just creating a mentoring culture for the sake of your church's organization. You're creating a mentoring culture for the sake of the kingdom of God. And so everyone knows how it works. Everyone knows how to help someone pursue God. And after all, that's the goal of a healthy church, is to create a mentoring culture where everyone can help someone pursue God. Everyone can get in the game. And so your job as the lead pastor is fundamental because you're the first catalyst of this whole mentoring culture. Now, why don't you use the resources below this video to talk more about this with your pastoral team or your own mentor?